Just let me hear some of that rock and roll music, any old way you choose it.
Hello, this is Katie with Vintage and Vinyl, and I'll be spinning some rockin' 50s records every week here on my channel, as well as sharing some cool Coca-Cola collectibles and other neat vintage finds. Stay tuned! Hey guys, this is Katie with Vintage and Vinyl, back with another great video for you today. In this video, we are doing What's Spinning, and I have some great records coming up for you. So this week, I've really been enjoying my record player, and I have found some fantastic albums that I kind of forgotten I had, and I am enjoying listening to these. And I have a surprise bonus album coming up from Trusty Huckster. He sent this over as a little friend mail from his trip to Kentucky, and I was just thrilled to get it because it was such a neat little advertising piece. So I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. So the first album I'm going to be sharing with you today is by Andy Williams. He's one of my favorites, and I don't know exactly when this album came out. It is probably one of the more newer records that he did, but this is fantastic because it has so many great songs. So let me take it out of the protective sleeve so you guys can see that there. This is Honey by Andy Williams. And the music is just wonderful. If you're not familiar with Andy Williams, I'm really surprised, but he has a phenomenal voice, very, very relaxing and wonderful. So this album has Love is Blue, Up, Up and Away, Windy, This Is My Song, By the Time, I Get to Phoenix, Spooky, The Impossible Dream, Theme from Valley of the Dolls, Our Last Goodbye, and Fair Chantel. So if I had to pick, my two favorites off of this would be Up, Up and Away and Our Last Goodbye. So this is a very, very phenomenal album by Andy Williams. Now the next album I'm going to share with you is another great group, and this is the Four Preps. They have a lot of fantastic harmonizing, and this came out on Capitol Records, and this is a fantastic album. And I do believe that this is original pressings, and when I have an original pressing, I will try to make a note of that so you guys know. But this side has All I Have to Do Is Dream, Somewhere Along the Way, I Couldn't Get Without You Very Well, I Couldn't Sleep a Wink Last Night, Lonesome Town, A Certain Smile, The Sand and the Sea, I'll Be Around, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, Someday, Time, and If You Don't Want to Love Me. So my two favorite songs have to be All I Have to Do Is Dream and Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. Now Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, I believe, was done by another couple of groups. So you also see, I think the Platters did it, and maybe a few others covered it as well. So it's a fantastic song. Really, really love this album here by the Four Preps. Now the next album has a very interesting story. It is by the Platters, and it is called the Flying Platters. Now the reason it is actually called that is because at the time the Platters were having to go back and forth between a recording studio and their concert tour. And so literally they were flying back and forth between places, and so they were recording this album in very short notice on a very limited time schedule because they were going back and forth between various gigs. So I find this interesting, and that is why this album was named The Flying Platters. So this has a really interesting story, and it's very, very fun. So this album, I don't know that it's an original pressing. It came out on Mercury Wing, which I do believe that is the right label for this, and it does seem like an original, but I'm not 100% sure. So I will leave that down below when I find that out. So the Flying Platters album has Mean to Me, Dark Town Shutters Ball, No Power on Earth, I'm gonna sit right down and write myself a letter, Time and Tide, Love You Funny Thing, In the Middle of Nowhere, Oh Promise Me, Don't Forget, and Only Because. So if I had to pick two of my favorite songs on this, I really love I'm Gonna Sit Right Down and Write You a Letter, and Love You Funny Thing. So that is the two songs that I really like off of this album. Of course, all of them are good, so it's really hard for me to pick. And I love the Platters. What can I say? Now the next album is by another fantastic group, and this is an original pressing of the Drifters album called Save the Last Dance for Me. It came out on Atlantic Records, and this is just fantastic. The Drifters are another great group that you must go listen to if you haven't heard them. So this album has Save the Last Dance for Me, I Couldn't Count the Tears, Somebody New, Dancing with You, Jackpot, No Sweet Lovin', Sweets for My Sweet, Mexican Divorce, When My Little Girl Is Smilin', Some Kind of Wonderful, Please Stay, Nobody But Me, and A Room Full of Tears. So I definitely love I Couldn't Count the Tears and When My Little Girl Is Smiling. So those are my two top picks off of this Drifters LP here that I certainly recommend checking out if you're not familiar with them. Now, my bonus record, or really not bonus because this is the 5th record and I usually do 5, but this was sent over from Patrick at Trusty, Huckster, Mercantile, and I was very excited to get this in the mail. I didn't know it was coming, so it was just a delightful surprise. And this is on RCA Victor, and it says, Hearing is Believing. Listen to before and after high fidelity on this new brilliant RCA Victor recording on new orthophonic recording. And it has this awesome graphic on the front of that. That is just spectacular. And I think that this is a promotional album that probably would have been played at record stores, and it would have been promoting obviously high fidelity. When that came out, I'm sure it took people a while to sort of adjust and believe that it was really better than what they had before. So I find this just a really cool little record to have. It's a 45, and this has some great music on it, but also some really cool 50s kind of sound. You just hear that voice talking about, now high fidelity is da 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 da, and they go on, and it's just fantastic. So this has Gershon Rhapsody in blue, the Pictures at an Expedition by the Great Gate Kev, and most of this is orchestra music, and they go through what it would have sounded like and what it sounds like with high fidelity. And then it has the prologue of Lincianvallo, which I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. Then you have Wagner and Lauren, Prelude to Act 3. Then you have Joanne Strauss Jr. and the Polka. Then you have My Impossible Love, Eddie and the Witch Doctor, and Melancholy Serenade. So I really like the first part of this track because you really get to hear that kind of 50s warm radio sound that we just don't have nowadays. So I really love the first part of, I believe it's Rhapsody in Blue. And then I also love Eddie and the Witch Doctor. So this is just a little fun record. I do believe it's promotional, and it does say that it came out in 1954. So I will do maybe a whole little video on this and the history of high fidelity and all of that next. Now the last part of this video is going to be a little bit fun because I'm making a special announcement. So if you haven't been on my Instagram, that's Vintage and Vinyl, vintage underscore and underscore vinyl, I made a very fun announcement. I am going to be reading a saucy book on my YouTube channel. I'm going to be doing little segments of it so you guys can tune in. I was going to do it at the beginning of every video, but I think it will be better to have a dedicated video. So I will be having a vintage video that comes out once a week on something I really love vintage, whether that's glass or advertising or swatch or something fun like that. I'll be doing my regular What's Spinning video, and then I will be having my story time video with this book here, Katie and Her Camera. So I will be reading little snippets of this, and I hope you will follow along to see what happens in this romance for young moderns. So, ooh, I can't wait to see what happens to Katie. And it's funny, Nesting Haven was selling this book, and when I saw it, I just thought the graphics were spectacular and the price was super. So I thought, okay, I'll get that. And then when I saw it was a romance novel, I thought, oh, this is going to be fun, because my name is Katie, and it's funny, I love photography. So I'm interested in this book. So I hope you guys will stay tuned. But that is all I have for you all today. So stay in, stay safe, and binge YouTube.
That's why I go for that rock and roll music. Any old